Hey guys, in this video I am going to show you how to set up a stream using the Twitter API. Basically what a stream is a listener that's listening out for some certain piece of information on Twitter, whether it's a particular hashtag or a particular username, and then we can somehow deal with tweets that are coming into us in real time, either by replying to them or by collecting that data for later analysis. So basically, kind of like the web scraping notebook that we did, but instead of scraping existing information on the web, we are listening to tweets that are going out on Twitter in real time. And we could reply to them or deal with them in real time. All right, so a couple disclaimers. First of all, we are collecting raw data from Twitter, meaning that there could be some profanity, there could be some themes or language that we are not comfortable with. And there might be some current events that are being discussed that you might be uncomfortable with because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The main thing I would say is if you're uncomfortable with any of that, you would want to get in touch with your teacher and ask for an alternate assignment. But overall, we do our best to, as data scientists, try to view this data through an academic lens whenever possible. And we will do a fair bit of filtering to get some profanity out of the tweets that we collect as well. But you have to remember that we are collecting data from real humans in real time, and so we do have to expect the unexpected occasionally. Also, the tools that you're going to learn in this video will show you how to make your own Twitter bot that can process and reply to tweets in real time. And so I think it's probably appropriate to talk about some ethical guidelines at this point. It's pretty simple. Transparency, so inform your users that your account is a bot and who controls the bot and who can access the data that your bot collects, and don't hurt people. You should not be harming your users either with theft, fraud, harassment, spam. Not only is that immoral, but it's illegal as well, depending on what behaviors a malicious bot might engage in. And then some general community guidelines. Your bot would be sending out tweets in public that are visible to your teachers, your parents, your classmates, the community at large. And remember that if you're doing something as part of a project for school, you are representing our school with the tweets that you send. So profanity, harassment, spamming, any other misbehavior, we would refer that to the discipline office, of course. And then just in general, anti-spam guidelines. This is easy to do by accident, so this is something to keep in mind. You don't want to send the same tweet out over and over and over again, even if it's by accident. And the best way to prevent spamming, even by accident, is to use the time module in Python. And you would just put time.sleep into any for loops that you write, basically to put your algorithm to sleep for 60 seconds at a time so that you don't accidentally spam your users or your followers. All right, with all of that out of the way, let's jump into it. So if you're going to make one of these bots on your own, you're going to need, from your developer account from Twitter, you're going to need your consumer key, your consumer secret, an access token, and access secret. These have X's here because I don't want to reveal my private tokens and secrets, but you would fill in your own information here, and then be careful who you share this notebook with because that data can be used to access and use your account through the Twitter API. All right, so what can we do with this whole Twitter streaming API? A stream's a little bit different than what you maybe have done in the past. We're not searching for data that's already out there. We are listening for data that's coming in real time. And so we can look for some trending hashtags, we can listen out for those hashtags, and then we can figure out how we want to deal with that data as it comes in. I'll show you basically two different options. One is to collect that data and save it in a text file, so that we can analyze it later. And then another option is to reply to those tweets as they come in, depending on how those tweets are addressed and what an appropriate reply would be. So basically we're going to make a bot that sends polite replies back to any tweets that it receives, and we're going to make a bot that acts as a little calculator. You can send it math questions and it will reply to those tweets with answers to those questions. All right, but first let's do some trending hashtags. So here are the hashtags that are currently trending on Twitter. This is in real time, so this is as of May 12th. This is what's trending on Twitter. We have it's National Limerick Day apparently. We have some Supreme Court arguments happening over live stream right now. So we have some Supreme Court justices that are trending right now on Twitter. And then we could just, there's also topics in here as well. You can see like Rand Paul, that's not a hashtag because there's no hash symbol. He's a senator. But we could restrict our search just to hashtags, and then you can see that all of these begin with a hash symbol. Now, I can't read this hashtag because those are not English characters. And so if we wanted to restrict our search just to things that are trending inside the United States, the Twitter API does allow for that. We can use the world ID for the United States and just look up trends in the United States. It looks like this hashtag, these lists look identical at the moment. So we might need to tweak that code possibly, or it is possible that Twitter has kind of changed their API a little bit, and we might not be able to get as detailed of geographic information as we have in the past. All right. So what we're going to do is we are going to pick out a hashtag, and we're going to start listening for tweets that come in that use that hashtag in real time. Now, you guys are going to be analyzing the data that we collect today in a sentiment analysis notebook that you're going to be completing for homework. So I want to save this data as it comes in and write it to a text file. And so what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to pick out a hashtag. I'm going to use COVID-19. The reason I'm picking that one is because I know that there's going to be a lot of activity on that hashtag, even if it's not trending right now. There's a global pandemic going on. People are talking about it. There are going to be a lot of tweets going around using that hashtag, so it's a treasure trove of data that we can collect. So I'm going to create a text file named covid19.txt, and I'm going to set up a stream listener. Basically, these are the rules that we're teaching the computer for how to handle our tweets as they come in. I'll keep this quick, but technically we could write a stream listener with very few lines of code. This got a little bit longer than other stream listeners I've written in the past because I'm really trying to handle extended tweets. Twitter used to limit tweets to 140 characters. Now they've increased that limit beyond 140 characters, and I want to make sure that I get the full text of every tweet that I'm receiving, even if it goes over 140 characters. That's what this code is meant to handle. The other thing I want to do is as I'm writing to my text file, I don't want a bunch of line breaks and enters and spaces within an individual tweet. So in each individual tweet, I'm going to replace line breaks and returns with spaces and empty strings. That way, if you have a tweet that someone presses enter a bunch of times, we can get rid of those line breaks. And then I'm just going to write in a single line break after each tweet. What that will mean is that our file, our covid19.txt file, will have a tweet and then a line break, and then another tweet and then another line break. That'll allow us to write a for loop in the homework that you're going to be doing, the sentiment analysis notebook, where we could just loop over that text file very easily because we can write a for loop that goes through the text file line by line. It jumps by line breaks, and we can analyze each individual tweet that we've collected. Now, when I ran this code, nothing happened because all I did was teach the computer what to do when we start listening. But we actually have to set up our stream listener to start listening. So when I press Shift-Enter here, I have a stream object. And now I basically told Twitter, hey, I'm about to start listening for a particular hashtag. Be ready for me. And now when we run this code, I am filtering out tweets that contain the hashtag COVID-19. And you could see this growing very, very quickly. Remember, this is live Twitter data. We have tweets in various different languages. There might be some tweets that use profanity. We're going to try to filter that stuff out eventually. There's nothing wrong, obviously, with tweets in other languages, but it's going to be hard to analyze tweets in languages that our code is not going to be able to interpret. And because this is a school activity, we also want to filter out any profanity that we can. So we're going to do both of those right after I finish collecting my data. Now, when I collected data that you guys are going to analyze in the sentiment analysis notebook, I let this run for a long time. I let it run for a good 15-20 minutes. I collected over a megabyte of tweets, about 1.3 megabytes of tweets for the COVID-19 hashtag. Right now, it's not very fun just watching this code run, and so I am going to interrupt this cell. And you'll see down here I get an error message basically telling me that I interrupted the cell. And the other thing I need to do before I move on is I need to disconnect from my stream. I'm using Twitter resources by running that listener, and it's a courtesy to Twitter, but also it's a protection for yourself to tell Twitter, hey, I'm done. I don't need to use any more of your resources for now. If you open too many streams and forget to disconnect from them, eventually you're going to start getting error messages or rate limited or even banned from the Twitter API platform. All right, so here I'm closing the file that I was writing to. I was writing all those tweets to a text file. Here I'm disconnecting from my stream. And now I'm going to take those text files and I'm going to filter out everything that is not in English, and I'm going to filter out anything that has profanity. I'm going to use two different modules for that. I'm going to use the Lang Detect module to basically write out tweets that are in English. So I'm going to run this code, and you can see as it's running, as soon as this asterisk changes to a number, we know that the code is done. It only takes a few seconds. And that will leave us just with English language tweets written to a file named COVID-19_English.txt. It doesn't take very long. This will be done in a second, but you can see it's printing out these tweets as it processes them. There, we're all done. And then I'm going to use another module called Profanity Check to filter out anything that has obvious swear words. Basically what this code says is I'm going to assign a profanity score to each tweet. And then if that profanity score is less than 50%, then I'm going to, or that profanity probability is less than 50%, I'm going to keep that tweet. What this 0.5 means is if there's a less than 50% chance that this tweet has profanity in it, I'm going to keep it. I found that to be a pretty good benchmark for the probabilities. Are we going to get rid of every single tweet that has profanity in it? Probably not, but we're going to get most of them. And then the other thing to keep in mind is, the English language is a very versatile tool. People can say objectionable things without using swear words. So will we get rid of every single tweet that we disagree with? No, but that's not really our goal here. Our goal is just to do the best we can with the tools available to us. All right, so I spent about an evening doing exactly what you just watched. I picked 5 popular hashtags, a few of which were trending when I was collecting my data, and a few of which I just know are active hashtags. So I did this on Sunday night, which was May 10th. That was Mother's Day, by the way. So you could see here are the 5 hashtags that I was collecting data on. Bitcoin, COVID-19, Happy Mother's Day, Sunday Thoughts. Here's the raw file size for the various hashtags that I was collecting data on. And then you could see that the file sizes shrink a little bit when we filter out just to English, and then the file sizes shrink again just slightly when we filter out profanity. You can get a pretty good idea of which hashtags are more global and which hashtags are more isolated to the English-speaking world just by looking at this change from the raw text file size to the English text file size. Look, like Happy Mother's Day, when I filtered out the English, filtered out just the English tweets, I only lost about 200 kilobytes worth of data. COVID-19, I lost about half my data, which makes sense. A global pandemic and a hashtag that is not just in English. COVID-19 is the name of the virus across the world. So that hashtag was trending across the globe. Happy Mother's Day, that was more likely to be isolated to the English-speaking world. Anyway, if I could collect that much data just in a couple hours over the course of one evening, imagine if you're doing this for a company or an internship or even just for a hobby where you set up a Twitter stream that runs over many hours, days, weeks, whatever. You could collect a lot of valuable data. very similar to this web scraping project that you guys did, except for in this case, listening to Twitter in real time to collect our data. Now, what you guys are going to do in the sentiment analysis notebook is you're going to pick one of these hashtags and you're going to analyze the sentiment in each of those tweets. Is it a positive sentiment or a negative sentiment, right? Like Happy Mother's Day, there might be a lot of tweets that say things like, I love my mom. Thank you so much for everything that you've done for me. Your sentiment analysis code is probably going to classify a tweet like that as positive. There might be things that will get classified as negative. So Sunday thoughts, someone might say, oh, this TV show I'm watching that airs on Sunday nights is terrible, and your sentiment analysis will probably classify that tweet as negative. And then you're going to look in the aggregate, and for a particular hashtag, are most of those tweets, do most of those tweets have a positive sentiment or a negative sentiment? And you might get some surprising results. I kind of ran through a few of these just to see what would happen, and I saw some results that I found surprising and interesting. So you'll get to explore that. I'm not going to give any of it away because I want you to have a chance to explore on your own. And then, by the way, if you wanted to know how I picked these hashtags, Bitcoin I know is just a really active hashtag because there's a lot of people that are interested in cryptocurrency or trying to sell currency or trying to start a business involving cryptocurrency on Twitter. A lot of times these are kind of spam tweets, and so I picked hash Bitcoin because I thought this one might be a little bit more neutral in tone than some of these other hashtags. COVID-19 because it's a global event, and I knew that it was a very active hashtag. Mother's Day, of course, because it was Mother's Day on Sunday. And then Sunday thoughts, there's typically a different hashtag for each day of the week. There's hashtag Sunday thoughts, and I think it might be hashtag Motivation Monday on Mondays, something to that effect. There's a different popular hashtag for each day of the week, and since I ran this code on a Sunday, that's why I took Sunday thoughts. All right, so that's collecting data and writing it out to a file so that you can analyze it later. What can we do in real time? This is not going to be something that you have to do, but if you find it interesting, you could kind of follow the next couple demos and try something yourself like this. So I wrote a new stream listener here that's called Polite Reply Bot. Basically, this bot is going to listen out for its username, and when it hears its username, it's going to reply and say, hey, I'd like to thank you for your message. So I'm going to run this code. I just taught the computer how to reply to tweets that it receives. And then I'm going to run my stream listener. Now, I've got two Twitter accounts here. I've got my FriendBot account and my CalculationBot account. Now, the CalculationBot account is the one that has the script running. So from my FriendBot account, I'm going to write a tweet here. I'm going to say @CalculationBot. And I'm just going to say, hello, how are you on this fine Tuesday afternoon? I'm going to tweet that out. And with any luck, if you give it a couple seconds, we should get a reply back. There it is. Look at this. So FriendBot tweeted at CalculationBot, hello, how are you this fine Tuesday afternoon? And CalculationBot replied, I'd like to kindly thank you for your wonderful message. And if we refresh the page on CalculationBot, we're going to see the same conversation happening just on the other end of that conversation. So let's see. Tweets and replies. And there it is. And then even in our Jupyter notebook, we could see what was happening. Here's the tweet that was received. Here's the tweet that we sent back. Now, is that interesting? Not particularly, because it's a pretty empty conversation. But imagine you're starting a company, or you're working for a company doing data science or advertising, or maybe you're working in an internship role. You can make a Twitter bot for a company that sends coupons. If someone mentions your brand, you could say, hey, I see that you're interested in this brand of dog food. Here's a coupon to buy a bag of this dog food with free shipping or something. So there's all sorts of interesting things you can do. You do want to be careful not to spam people, so you do not want to just send out tons and tons of replies to everybody that uses a particular hashtag. But if you reply to someone who has specifically sent a tweet to you, that would be appropriate, and you'd be very unlikely to run into a spamming issue. All right, so I've disconnected from my stream. Let me show you guys the next idea I have, which is a calculator bot. This is a bot that will just basically run a script that will perform a useful service for people. So if you tweet at my calculation bot and you send it a simple math problem, it'll compute that math problem and send back the answer. Now, you're welcome to use this code that's in this notebook to experiment with. I would not run this long term. There is a security issue here, which is I am taking a tweet and I am running the Python eval function on it. If someone were to send you malicious code through a tweet, your bot would evaluate that malicious code and it could damage your computer or risk your security in some way. So you do want to be careful here, because evaluating arbitrary Python that you receive from strangers can be dangerous. Now, I did try to keep this as safe as possible by telling my bot, hey, I only want you to process tweets that after the username only contain numbers and addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and exponentiation. That being said, you could still break it. There are still ways. People are clever. Python is a powerful language. I am sure, I haven't thought too much about how you would go about doing it, but I'm sure there are ways, even with this set of safe characters, to get malicious code to execute on someone's computer. I'm only going to run this for a few short seconds, and so I think the probability of running into an issue would be quite low, but you probably would not want to leave this script running long term for long periods of time unless you really did your homework about how to do so in a safe manner. All right, so let's go back to each of our accounts here, and FriendBot's going to send out a quick math problem. So we are going to tweet at CalculationBot, and let's just give CalculationBot a simple addition problem. Here it is. Let's tweet that out. If we refresh the page, we should see tweets and replies. There it is. We sent CalculationBot the math problem 763 plus 10,388. And the reply that we got back was the answer to that math problem, 11,151. And we can see that same conversation happening on the CalculationBot's page right here. Here's this tweet that was received 27 seconds ago. And here's the answer that we sent back. And if we go back to the Jupyter Notebook, we can see the same conversation happening. Here's the tweet we received. Here's the tweet we sent back. You could perform much more interesting tasks here. I had students in the past who used our image filter notebook, and when you tweeted a picture at the bot, it filtered that image and then sent you that filtered image back. You could even specify what filter you wanted for that specific image. So you can make a bot that does some pretty useful stuff. Here's what I would encourage you guys to do. I'm going to disconnect from my screen here. And I would encourage you guys to try to create your own bot. It's not officially homework. You don't have to do it. But there's some pretty cool things that you could create. And as long as you kind of follow these ethical guidelines, they could be a lot of fun. I will warn you, your bot's going to crash. Whenever you make a bot for the first time, it's impossible to think through all the scenarios and unexpected inputs that you could get from users that will make your bot not work as expected. It's hard to make a bot that's like completely autonomous and reliable. So what I would say is to make your bot more reliable, you leave it running for a long time, you test it, you read some documentation about the Twitter API and specifically this Tweepy module that allows us to interact with the Twitter API. Here's an article about Python error handling. That's a good way to deal with exceptions in your code as they arise. And eventually, after just days or weeks of testing, little fidgets at a time, you end up with a pretty good and reliable bot. And if you make something useful, you would not want to just leave it running on your computer all the time. As soon as you shut down your machine, the bot's not running anymore. Or as soon as you close the Jupyter window, or close the kernel, your bot's not running anymore. What you would want to do is, if you made a really cool bot that you're proud of, you'd want to buy a little Raspberry Pi computer. You can get them for between $5 and $35. Put your script onto that Raspberry Pi and just leave it running in the background and leave that bot to kind of perform its task on its own. All right, thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to check out the Sentiment Analysis Notebook. That's really the whole purpose of this notebook, was to collect data that we're going to analyze using sentiment analysis. So thank you guys for tuning in. Have fun with your sentiment analysis and have a great day.